You might be wondering where this exercise came from, so let me give you a little background. Back in the 70s, the Virginia Community College system used to have a class called Human Relations and Leadership Training, BUAD 110. I probably taught that course 30 or 40 or 50 times because we were on the quarter system then, and I had two sections per semester. So I have done this exercise 75 or 80 times. It's one of the best activities that we used. That class was oriented around experiential learning. Make sure not to confuse it with experimental learning. It's not experimental, it's experiential, meaning that you have an experience and then you get to talk about it. So I was a facilitator, not a lecturer in this situation. So what I would do as a facilitator is I would provide the structured activity. The students would do the activity and the students would provide the notes to me. They would tell me what to write up on the board, and that's what I would do. And I really like that role reversal, not having to be the lecturer and not having to be the fountain of knowledge, because this activity would provide all the information you need to come to the conclusion. And so the next question, why are we doing this? Well, it's not related to economics or geography, but it's definitely related to your success in life. And so what I'm trying to indicate to you, show you, is that both the sender and the receiver are responsible for the communications process. And feedback's the key. I don't care if you're the boss or the employee or the trainer or the student or the teacher or whoever, the president. What you have to do is you have to cultivate feedback. It's not just going to happen. You have to develop the skill to cultivate that feedback, and it will lead to success in your life. You don't need any special training to do this activity. If you make a mistake, it's no big deal. Just choose another person to do it with, or either switch roles and instead of being the speaker, become the listener. Do it with more than one person. Do it with your spouse and your kids if you want to. There's no time limit for doing the activity, but I think you could probably do it within 30 minutes. And this option is only open for a month, and so it's good, easy, extra credit. I hope you take advantage of it. Let me go to the next slide. So here we have two chairs back to back. So perhaps the speaker is in this chair and the listener would be in this chair. So the reason for putting the chairs back to back is you want to make sure that there's no communication, nonverbal communication between the speaker and the listener. And so that includes things like coughs and scratching your hair and moving the chair around and just making a commotion. So in other words, you're trying to do this fairly. So both the speaker and the listener have to make sure that they follow the rules. And so the speaker would be over here, and he tries to show part A. I'll show that in a minute, a set of 5 blocks that the speaker is trying to get the listener to reproduce. And the first time we do the activity, there's no communication between these two. And then in part B, there is communication. So the listener is encouraged to ask questions and to provide feedback for the speaker. So all you need to do is get 2 chairs and put them back to back like that. All right, I'm going to go to the next slide. So in part A here, we have that there's no communication. Do not permit any questions. So no kind of coughing or moving your chair or groaning. So the speaker looks at the configuration of these 5 squares and tries to speak in such a way that the listener, the receiver, can reproduce these squares in the same configuration. So of course, after you finish this, I'm going to ask you to count the number of correct blocks, and my hypothesis is that the number of correct blocks will be much higher in part B, where you can ask questions. So let me go to part B. Here we have part B, and you can see it's the same sort of gizmo setup. So you've got 5 square blocks, and your goal as the speaker is to get the listener to reproduce these 5 square blocks in the configuration and the pattern that's given here. And the listener this time can ask as many questions as they want. The speaker can provide as much feedback, as much information as they want. You can repeat things, you can go over things, you can do anything you want to, because now in part B you have the prerogative of having feedback. The goal of this activity is to stress to you the importance of the communications process. when you send something, when you hit the send button on your computer, and maybe you're sending something to me, maybe you're sending something to your boss, or maybe to someone else, do not assume that you have finished the communications process, because all you have done is sent a message. You do not know if it has been received by the receiver. So you have to get feedback from the receiver before the sender can know that the communications process has finished. This was a tremendously significant lesson for me to learn, and I just can't stress enough how significant I think it would be for you in this age of global communication, digital communications, to learn this basic fundamental principle of feedback. I really hope you do this assignment. I think it will help you, and of course it'll give you 25 points of extra credit. Bye.